C2, and there's like C2 and another dude, a little shrimp guy, but they both are gods? I forget. Today we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna talk about Code Geass. I don't have any notes. It's all coming from my noggin. I finished watching Code Geass about 4 weeks ago. Hopefully I could remember as much as I can and try to explain Code Geass as wonderfully as I could. This is gonna be my kind of thoughts, not really a review, maybe a little review of Code Geass. What's the whole name? Something LaRouche. Britannia. The fuck was the full name? Lelouch of the Rebellion. Code Geass. Lelouch of the Rebellion. There will be spoilers probably. Right now we got episode 1 playing for you in the background, so maybe you can watch it like that, but probably not because there's no sound and no subtitles. The best way for me to summarize Code Geass is it's a kind of political drama kind of anime. There's this huge world superpower called Britannia, right? And Britannia is kind of they're pretty much Nazis, I would say. And Japan is one of the territories they've fought there, they've taken over, they've won. They're definitely racists because they don't consider like the Japanese people, and they call them 11s because that's like the territory, I suppose, like that's number 11 territory they conquered or whatever. They take over Japan. Obviously the Japanese people don't like this. There's a rebellion group that tries to do guerrilla warfare, fight the Britannians and everything like that. And that's where you have Mr. Lelouch, Lamperouche, or Lamperouche, whatever his name is. This kid right here. So he's a little pussy boy, a little bit in the beginning, right? He's kind of a little weak. He can't really run much, can't really do a lot of things, but it's all in here. He's really smart guy. He is at school. He gets caught up in the situation, right? Where there's this kind of nuclear bomb thing. Well, it looks like a bomb, right? That the rebels got that they're transporting, and then he gets caught in there. He's chilling in the truck, and then it eventually opens, and he discovers that it's not gas, not like some bomb, but it's actually this woman, green-haired lady in like these this weird jumpsuit. That's this scene right here. The Britannians find out. This kid right here, that's Suzaku, whatever. We'll get back to him later. I hate him. I really do. He's probably the worst character in the whole show, and he doesn't redeem himself, even if you may think so at the end of the whole series. There's a girl here, C2. She gets shot. She's like, bleh, bleh. And then Lelouch is gonna get shot and killed. But then C2 kind of gives him this superpower called the Geass. And the Geass is, I guess everybody that gets it it's a little different for them. You get different special abilities. But his power is to pretty much, he's got this thing in his eye, and when he looks at people, he could command them to essentially do anything he wants. So he could only use the Geass once per person. So he uses it on somebody, he can't use it again. He discovers that he has this power and he uses it to his advantage because Lelouch does not like Britannia, even though he is part Britannian, or he is Britannian technically. So he essentially uses this Geass to his advantage to try to overthrow the Britannian government because he hates them so much, because the secret here is he's actually royalty. He's actually part of the Britannian family. So he's like Lelouch, not Lamperouche, but Lelouch of Britannia. So he's like high up there, and is like essentially his Dad's the king. Dad's an asshole, right? His mother gets killed, and Dad doesn't do anything about it. So he runs away and goes into hiding and changes his last name. Like, who else has the first name? Lelouch, right? So he's like, Lelouch of Britannia. No. I will be now Lelouch Lamperouche. He essentially goes into hiding. He has a sister, Nonali, and she's blind, and she's in a wheelchair.
I am so fucked, aren't I?
And that all happened because people killed the mom and the tragedy, blah, blah, blah. She gets injured, she gets hurt too. And Dad doesn't care, so that's why he wants to go and take over Britannia. And with the Geass now, he can essentially do his best and fight the good fight. He pretty much creates an alternative persona called Zero. And he uses this persona to help the rebels, the Japanese. Pretty much everybody gets on his side because he's a very good strategist, and he is essentially trying to form his own army, his own thing to take over Britannia so he can change the world and mostly get revenge, but also change the world and get rid of the evil that is Britannia. And then we have this other kid, Suzaku, who is Lelouch's best friend. He is essentially like the worst character in the show. How do I describe Suzaku? He's born Japanese, right? His dad was part of the rebellion, essentially, or he fought the Britannians, and he fought to try to save Japan and save his country. Suzaku's like, oh, I hate I hate all this fighting between the rebels, the Japanese.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
He killed his dad because he's like, Dad, stop fighting the oppressive, regime that's taken over Japan. Stop trying to fight them. We're just killing people. To stop all the violence and all the fighting, he decides to join the Britannian army, and he becomes like a honorary Britannian. So he joins the Britannians to change the government from within and stop the fighting. And he ends up not knowing it's Zero, and then they end up fighting. He hates Zero, Zero hates Suzaku, and then, let me think. What happened? Suzaku essentially, he wants the same thing as Lelouch. He wants a new world, he wants peace, and he wants everyone to get along. But they're going about it two different ways. Lelouch knows that there needs to be violence and there is going to be war. They need to essentially defeat the Britannians. But Suzaku's like, oh, I could just change their minds. And I just will, but I'll fight with them and I'll kill my own people as well. He'll fight and kill a bunch of Japanese. That's what bothers me the most, is that he thinks his morals are up here and everybody else is down here, that he's doing the right thing, right? But in trying to save his own people by joining Britannia and fighting the good fight inside and changing the structure within, he essentially just follows orders and he moves up in the ranks and he fights against Zero and he kills a bunch of people too, and then he just gets mad and he's like, oh, Zero, you're killing people. Oh, how dare you? We can't fight like this. And then he just goes and kills people, right? And they fight with, oh, I forgot to mention, they fight in these big giant robot things. Kind of like Gundams. They're called Nightmares. And there's that they got a USB stick to turn it on, kind of like a key. You find out a lot of twists along the way. It becomes kind of really sad, and there's a lot of depressing things that happen. Especially what's-her-face. Not Nonali, what's-her-face? Julie... Whatever, the girl that really likes... Lelouch, like the schoolgirl, she gets her memory erased and then rewritten, and then like Lelouch kills her dad on accident during like a mudslide or whatever while they were battling. Finds out Lelouch killed her dad. She got sad, but she's in love with him, and she's like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter if you kill my dad. Oh, so what?" But she was gonna fight him, and then Lelouch erased her memory and forgot about him, and then she eventually falls in love with him again, and then she starts remembering shit because she wrote things down, and like, "Oh, Lelouch killed my dad," and then also you discover Lelouch's dad has the Geass, and his thing is he can rewrite your entire memories instead. Season 1 essentially ends on a interesting kind of cliffhanger. Season 1 involves Lelouch gaining the Geass, becoming Zero, fighting with the rebels, becoming the leader of the rebels. He does a lot of things and he gets pretty powerful, and Britannia knows that him and his rebels are a threat. He uses the Geass on a lot of people because he knows he has to lie and cheat his way through things. He tries to live a double life of like, "Hey, I'm this cool superhero dude, but I'm also a student." So of course you're gonna have some student like anime things, you know, they're like, "Oh, they're hanging out, it's the club time, whatever." I will say that, oh yeah, she's cool too. Colin's cool. She's also a student. And then she's also like, well, she's pretending to be Britannian, but she's actually Japanese. There's like a whole mess of things in this show. They don't really go into too much of the actual like C2, because C2 you find out she's pretty much lives forever. She's a witch. Apparently.
And you're still a
some
witch.
kind of witch, right? And they don't really get into too much about that, especially like maybe they do in the movies because there's like 4 movies or something, and I haven't watched those, and an OVA, I think. You know, his dad has the Geass, his dad's brother had it, his mom had it, everybody had it, you know. His mom, like, it was, oh, like his mom turned out to be like actually evil, and like his mom died but didn't really die because she transferred her essence and soul into someone else. And in doing so, like that other person can't remember shit. It was this pink-haired girl, I believe. Let me know if I'm wrong. I watched the English dub. The English dub's actually pretty good. Lelouch, I love Lelouch. He's a great character. He kind of reminds me of a Light from Death Note. At the end of the 2nd season, which is the end of the series, Lelouch pretty much uses his Geass to take over the world, to become the emperor, but it's all like a ruse, right? He does all these things to put all the hatred on him instead of on everyone else, on each other, and people fight. So he pretty much gives everyone like a common enemy in himself, and then he uses Suzaku. They eventually like kind of like make up. They're like, "Oh, we're friends again." But he uses Suzaku to pose, like take on the Zero manifestation, like become Zero. Zero is like a beacon of hope for people, and that's who he becomes, and he wants Zero to be more than Lelouch. Zero is like a symbol, right? He becomes a crazy emperor dude, and he's like, "Ah, everyone hates me, blah, blah, blah." Everyone hates him, and he's about to execute people. You know, it's all part of his plan because he's playing 4D chess. And he's like, the only way for every piece to be had is for everyone to hate me as like evil, like I'm big boy Hitler now, right? And then you pose as Zero, kill me. That's what happens. Zero comes in, you know, and kills Lelouch. Lelouch is like, "Ugh, now you're gonna be Zero forever." And then he rolls down, and Nanali's like, "Oh my god, no! My brother!" Animation was great. Story is very deep, and there's a lot to get into. Honestly, the biggest thing I remember is my hatred for Suzaku. Suzaku was like the worst character. Every time I seen him on screen, being like, "Oh, don't kill people," and then he like mows down like Japanese people, and you're like, "What are you doing? You're just." I hated him because he was a hypocrite. Lelouch wasn't a hypocrite. Lelouch knew he had to kill people. He had to do terrible things to get peace and to get his way. And that's why at the end, Lelouch got his way. Lelouch's plan worked, and Suzaku's like, "Oh, I guess I'm zero now." And then, God, I hated him. I hated him so much. Oh my God. There's a lot of cool characters. Colin, she's cool. There's some cool, mecha battle things, because it's kind of like a mecha Gundam type anime. And what bothers me in the show, eventually the rebel people, his team or whatever, they find out about the Geass, and they find out that he was using that power, and they're like, "Oh my God!" They just like turn on him like that. Like, that bothered me too. That guy was cool. The doctor or the scientist that made all the nightmares. He was pretty cool. I forgot his name. I forgot a lot of people's names. Okay, I remember Lelouch, Suzaku, her, Colin. A lot of twists and turns, and backstabbing, and yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, and then like season 2 was interesting. Season 2 was interesting because they kind of start over. Well, not start over, but like at the end of season 1, essentially, they leave it on a cliffhanger where Suzaku and Lelouch are about to battle it out. But of course, Lelouch can't do anything because he's like a little pansy boy. He's got noodle arms, right? So Suzaku fights, he wins, blah, blah, blah. Takes Lelouch to the king, to the emperor. And the emperor's like, "Oh, ho, 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 I actually have a Geass as well. Bam! I'm gonna rewrite your memories." He's like, no, I can't forget Natalie. I can't forget anything. And then season 2 starts with him back in school like nothing happened, and he forgot everything, right? And he's like, "Do, do, 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 do." And he has a brother instead of his sister because they take the sister away from him. And then he's like, "Doop, doop, 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 doop." They essentially wanted to get close to C2. Oh yeah, C2, and there's like C2 and another dude, a little shrimp guy, but they both are gods, I forget. And they need them both essentially to like become, I forgot. Oh my God, why did they need them? I don't know. I guess it wasn't that important in my eyes because I don't remember the deeper like mystical parts, right, about the Geass and about like whatever, all that stuff. But essentially, like, like I said before, C2 was a witch, and she like lives forever, and then she just wants to die. Essentially, that's her main thing. And I don't know why she needed a Lelouch to die. It didn't make sense. That's not explained well. And then she's like, knows the emperor, and the emperor's like, "Well, you could give me the power, and then you could die. Just give it to me, whatever, because I don't want to die. I want to live forever." And then yeah, there's some weird stuff in there because he eventually just looks at the moon or some shit. I don't remember everything. Like I said, this is just me. Essentially, it's a rant about Code Geass, and it's not gonna. It's like, sitting down with a friend and trying to explain a show to them. Like, how well can you do it? This is how well I could explain Code Geass. But I would give it a high rating. I think it's definitely a classic for a reason, and I'm surprised I haven't seen it beforehand when it came out. I don't know, and it's by the same people that did Chobits. Clamp did that. So that's why everybody's like 8 feet tall and stringy. Music's pretty good. C2's theme is cool. Like, she has this cool like theme every time she comes in. Oh, and C2 likes pizza. That's a thing, I guess. Whatever. Code Geass definitely is memorable for their intro too. Their intro song. Okay, well, final thoughts on Code Geass. Great show. Definitely watch it. Very good stuff. Very interesting. A lot of, you have to pay attention. There's a lot of like, if you don't like the politics and, like different like strategies, and if you don't like playing chess or strategy games or things where you have to think a lot, then Code Geass will probably not be for you. Unless you just like, boys that do like this and this and this and this and this. If you like that, there's gonna be a lot of that. There's a lot of like claw movements, and like he takes off a contact like this. It's that quick. Like this. He's like, contact's off. I wish I could do that. It's like, it's hard. I don't know how. It's weird. But like this. But yeah, I mean, if you just like big robot battles too, they have a lot of those, and it's pretty good, pretty cool. But definitely a lot of story. It would be, I mean, it's one thing that it's, very political and very like that, but then they layered on top with this kind of mystical and like weird alien stuff, essentially, with the Code Geass and the power, and so it's like double confusing at times. But it's a great show, good watch. Great animation, nice drawings, very long people. Is Code Geass worth your time? It's got 2 seasons, 24 episodes per season. I'm definitely gonna watch the movies. Overall, definitely take a look. Go check it out. I liked it. And I don't like a lot of things. But I like that. And fuck Suzaku.